those two guys from work who won't shut up about football, but are pretty damn entertaining? Well, they decided to buy a couple microphones. And with that, we welcome you to the CheesyCorn Sports Podcast, where Justin Adams and Martin Cheney wrangle over everything college football and NFL. Bold predictions, hot takes, and live game reactions. This is CheesyCorn Sports.
What's going on, everybody? Hello and welcome to our Saturday special show of CheesyCorn Sports. I am Justin Adams, aka Corn. I am usually joined by Martin Cheney, but Martin again, like last year, fell out the bed in the morning, hit his head on the wall, and he's no longer with us. Well, no, he's just not with us today. So I'm here to bring you into the 3 Saturday games and answer your questions, start sit questions, anything that you have. Fantasy playoffs are upon us, which means you got to win, which means I'm here to help you. So let's get after it. Let's go ahead and start up, I would say, with the first game of the day, Vikings at Bengals. All right. Bengals, 3.5-point favorite. Interesting game, to say the least, due to the quarterback position. Josh Dobbs has been relegated. I believe Nick Mullins is now the starter. So that is it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out. I'm going to get into a little bit about the quarterback stuff. Mullins, watching Mullins and Browning last week, there's a lot to like, but there's also a lot to what happened that might give you pause in starting one or the other, especially Browning. More people are kind of leaning towards the Browning side of starting things just because of his plays of late. So we'll go ahead and get started. So again, Bengals have been bet to a 3.5-point favorite. The implied totals: Vikings 17.8 and Bengals 21.3. So Nick Mullins. Let's go ahead and talk about Nick Mullins a little bit. Last week, Nick Mullins, semi-decent performance also, but had the 54-yard pass to Chase Brown that kind of propped up his final numbers a little bit, and especially his target depth. So looking at the advanced numbers, looking at his target depth, it's not something that is indicative of good fantasy production. So Nick Mullins is not somebody I would even in the most desperation of situations throw in there. So Bengals, the Bengals defense has been much maligned this year for good reason. So they're bottom 5 in run defense. So, Vikings running backs, fire them up. Ty Chandler, probably going to be top 25 guy this week. So, feel good about either one of the Vikings running backs. Feel good about both the Vikings running backs because the Bengals can't stop the run. And I don't know just what this Vikings pass offense is going to look like. The big question here is Justin Jefferson. What do we do with Justin Jefferson? And it's one of those cases where it's like, you start your studs, right? However, just know where Jefferson's probably going to be in the realm of the rankings. Probably, I would say Jefferson's top 15. I don't know quite top 10 right now, but top 15, I would have him in top 15. I've seen some that have him at wide receiver 20. I'm not willing to go that. I'm not willing to go that far down at all. Jordan Addison is, I don't even know if you can put Addison in your lineup right now, especially, it's playoff time and you need a reliable option, especially if you have an absolutely dire situation. You have to put Jordan Addison in. The potential for production is there, of course, but you don't want to have to rely on Jordan Addison with this quarterback situation the way that it is. I would say probably the one guy from the Vikings that you could feel comfortable relying on is, the tight end. As we know, TJ Hawkinson, just been an absolute monster the entire season. He is probably the one person from this team that is a surefire starter right now, no matter what. I mean, Jefferson, you're probably starting up, but talking about just top tier this week, Hawkinson's got to be the guy for you. Another thing, too, just for those who are new to the show or anything like that, we'll be dropping the call-in links in the comment section there for y'all if y'all want to check those out. So, all right, back into Vikings-Bengals. Okay, so, you know, the wide receivers, I mentioned kind of where they're at on the hierarchy. It's an interesting situation just because the Bengals pass defense is not good. Typically, it's an exploitable matchup. Typically, it's a matchup you want to go after, and you want to have receivers going against the Bengals defense. But it's, you know, not the situation that you want to be in your fantasy playoffs right now, having this question mark, having top guys like Justin Jefferson and having a question mark at the QB position, even against, you know, a bad team and a bad matchup. So moving over into the Bengals side, you know, quarterback situation going over there too. So Jamar Chase right now has proven that he can be a QB-proof top 15 type of guy. So Jamar Chase, you're firing him up no matter what. He has, you know, he had the one down game, but he's been good, you know, consistently this season. We can consider that an outlier. T. Higgins is coming into the season. T. Higgins was supposed to be a potential wide receiver one upside. He was a top 12 dynasty receiving option with wide receiver one upside. However, that has turned out to be absolutely wrong. And it's hard to tell what it is. Is he hurt? Is he regressing? You know, he had a callback touchdown last week. Apologies for the dog in the background. 1 second. Shut the fuck up! Okay, thanks. How do you yell real quick? He had a callback touchdown last week, and right now it's to the point where T. Higgins is almost touchdown dependent. I think he's got like a 13% target share, which isn't good, and especially in an offense like this right now with Browning in there, that we don't know what kind of consistency this offense will have. We've seen flashes, so we want to believe that's the case. But, I mean, Jamar Chase is locked and loaded, ready to go. T. Higgins, I don't know really what you want to do with T. Higgins, but for right now, you know, he can be flexed, but, you know, you got that floor there. And especially if he's still banged up, we know how it's been with T. Higgins and the Bengals and him being hurt. You know, last year was the song and dance of if you were owner, which I was, he would be cleared for a week, come out, he'd start and play a snap, and then he'd be off the field. So pretty frustrating to be a T. Higgins owner, especially if you've been T. Higgins owner in back-to-back years. So, all right. Let's see, Ty Chandler or Thielen. So I prefer probably this week, just based on the matchup. I like Ty Chandler this week. I don't trust the offense, Carolina, enough right now to start Thielen. That offense has the floor of that offense is just so absolutely low. I don't know if necessarily I trust Thielen in a playoff matchup. I got Ty Chandler as probably, you know, top 20 back this week. I would say probably I would say anywhere between 18 and 21 is probably where he's going to land. So yeah, I like Ty Chandler this week for sure. And another thing too about your lineups, if you do have anybody on the injury report for tomorrow that might be a game time decision, make sure that those guys are on your in your flex spot, and make sure your guys who are locked and loaded, ready to go today, put them in your starting spot, so that way you have the flexibility in your flex spot to rotate in a running back or a receiver. What's up, Sonny Verna out in oh yeah, you're out in Vegas, man. Hope you're having fun out there. Happy birthday, by the way. So all right, but yeah, so Ty Chandler there. Appreciate the question, Colts fan. All right. Where was I? Okay. So that about does it for the Bengals Vikings game. I mean, not a lot there. Browning to me right now, he's probably QB 20-ish as well. I wouldn't start Browning as much as I know people want to start Browning. I just don't. I don't like it. I don't see it, especially with your playoff matchup. There's a lot better streaming options. If you can go get a Matthew Stafford, a guy like that, I think you're in a much better spot than if you go get Jake Browning with the floor. And again, Hawkinson firing him up no matter what. All right, moving over, Colts and Steelers. Okay, so Colts, their run defense is not good. I believe it's bottom 5 or bottom 3 in the NFL right now. As far as PFF goes, they're 30th out of 32 teams. So that typically would mean well for the Steelers' run game. Not that the backs bring anything exciting to the table that inspires a ton of confidence in you, but the Colts' run defense has been that bad. Najee Harris, as we all know, he's a very volume-dependent running back. So, and I also feel like putting Pittsburgh into throwing situations is going to be the key here, naturally. The Colts are top 10 in pass rush grade and win rate. So, what they lack in the run game defensively, they make up for with the pass game. And the Steelers' pass game has been absolutely horrendous this year, inconsistent. The receivers have been inconsistent. Each one does their own thing, but both of them do nothing at the same time. So, the Colts need to put them into a throwing situation so they can engage in the pass rush and they can start trying to get some pressure on these quarterbacks. But right now the over/under is 42. I don't know if that's been bet down at all, but I think the lower the score, the more it favors the Steelers. I did see a statistics from some tweet. I forget his name, Adam something, but it went over Zach Moss too. Let me 1 second, because Zach Moss to me. So there was a question with the Zach Moss versus like a Ty Chandler or I forget who else, like a Joe Mixon. I'm sorry, but you're firing up Zach Moss over any of those guys. Zach Moss is a top 10 running back right now. So just in case you're juggling that question with any of this Colts and or any of the Steelers running backs or anything like that, like Zach Moss is top 10. He's 121. Here's the tweet: 121 of 132 snaps, 92% of the snaps he was on the field for. 32 out of 35 running back carries went to Zach Moss. 63 routes on 90 Minshew dropbacks, 70%. 11 targets for a 14% target share. That 14% target share is higher than T. Higgins' target share currently, for what it's worth. 9 carries inside of the 10-yard line. That is money. And then 14.3 total fantasy points in those games. So that is standard scoring, of course. So Zach Moss, as long as he's the starter, man, he's got to be a top 10 option here. Especially down the playoff run. I'll bring up their their next couple weeks here in just a little bit. Back to the Steelers offense, though. Steelers, looking back, their offense has not cracked 20 games in a while. So I believe their highest total of the season might have been back in week 1 or 2, which was also the last time I believe they went over like 21 points. So, just the offense is bad. The Colts have a higher implied team total, but the lower scoring, the more the dogfight this is, the more it favors the Steelers. Question on the Colts side is Minshew mania, as we all love to call him. It seems like the Colts right now are just kind of riding by the seat of the pants and just I don't know if it's a little bit of luck. I don't know if it's a little bit like the team and the numbers behind the team don't match the record of the team currently. This leads me in a little, makes me lean a little bit Steelers. I know the Steelers are terrible offensively, defensively, they're solid. Will it be enough in this game, though? Can they get enough out of their pass catchers? Um, their pass catchers being, of course, George Pickens, Deontay Johnson. Um, so Pickens, Pickens, Pickens is a deep ball guy, right? He 15.7 per catch, and I believe he had 2 long touchdowns in two of the last few games. So Pickens, though, right now, the volume isn't there for Pickens. So he's going to be one of those guys that is relying on the deep ball. You have to understand that when you're plugging and playing him into your lineups, and just know that floor is there. You know, if it's one of those instances where you're projected down and you need maybe a big splash performance, Pickens has the upside there, but I just don't know if the Steelers offense right now has the deep ball capability. That's where Pickens drops down a few picks for me. I don't know if this offense is able to do that. So if it was me, I would leave Pickens off my lineup, out of my lineup, but I would probably start him over a guy like maybe Deontay Johnson, volume guy, but the Steelers offense doesn't score points, so the volume's not there. It's not there right now. So right now is not the position where you're like, okay, maybe this week, he'll get it right. Maybe next week he'll go right. We're out of those weeks, right? It's to the point where you got to start your guys that got you to the dance. So Deontay Johnson's that guy, and you feel comfortable with him, go ahead and fire him up. But if not, look elsewhere. And hopefully, if you do start them, hopefully they have a good game. Like I said, the Steelers just haven't been able to score points just by the nature of the beast of what it's been looking like lately. There's just not a whole lot to like from the Steelers offense. I will say Jalen Warren, he also makes some big plays. I would say he's flexible. You could put him in your flex. Najee Harris, both of those guys, flexes. I think you can warrant one or the other. Both are going to play. You can start either or. You can flex either or. Just because Warren's floor, though, is a little lower, but his upside, again, that big play potential puts his upside, in that wide receiver, or running back 2 territory. So moving over into the Colts. Okay, so we talked about Zach Moss just a little bit. Okay. One more thing on the Steelers. My apologies. Is Pat Freiermuth. Very, very disappointing year for Freiermuth. Freiermuth was somebody I actually liked. Well, we all liked coming in this year. How can you not root for Pat Freiermuth, right? And had a huge game earlier this season. I can't remember exactly when. But since that game, it's been nothing. I believe he's had under 100 yards since that game and under 15 targets. I think it's 12 targets and under 100 yards since that game on the season. So Freiermuth, yeah, y'all know. Keep him out of your lineups. Denver versus Detroit. Sorry, one more thing. If anybody needed me to say this, Michael Pittman, locked and loaded wide receiver 1. Each and every week, Michael Pittman produces, and he's become Minshew's guy. Like, number 1, Pittman is top 10. Pittman's top 10 this week. Yeah. I don't have to spend too much time on Michael Pittman. Y'all kind of know what it is with him. All right. Let's move over. And by the way, guys, if y'all have any questions or you want to drop in the show, please click the link or type your questions in the comment. I'll be able to help you answer them as we get closer to the games. And here in a little bit, I'll also just go over some injuries in the lead up for the game in about 30 minutes. So, all right, over to Denver and Detroit. So, Javonte Williams. Javonte Williams is going to be, RB2 territory. He's worked his way into the RB2-ish territory. I still think there is a floor there for him. But right now, with how the Broncos had been playing and stuff like that, you kind of like what we're getting from Javonte Williams in terms of a volume standpoint and just the offense over there. And so if they can get that offense going, Javonte always has RB1 upside, but he always has that floor as well. Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery. So I don't know if anybody has been scorned by David Montgomery this year as bad as I have, but it happened to me a few weeks ago where Jahmyr Gibbs got tackled at like the 1-inch line, and they brought in old Monty to come in and vulture the TD. Okay, so, David Montgomery is going to be there no matter what. If you're a Gibbs owner, though, good news. He is constantly taking, majority of the volume and the pass catching. You just kind of wish that Dan Campbell would stop with this whole committee running back when you got a guy like Jahmyr Gibbs out there. We've seen this song and dance before. I don't know why anybody's surprised. Gibbs is getting near double the snap count, though, and exactly three times the pass volume as of last week. So Gibbs, RB1, 2-ish, and then Montgomery flex. So this is an offense, of course, that you can sustain both, but understand that Montgomery, if you're a Montgomery owner, you know how this goes. Understand that he is probably going to be a little bit dependent on that touchdown because he's probably not going to get enough volume to score without that. And then moving over to the Broncos pass catchers. Courtland Sutton has been playing very well lately. He scored in all but 3 games, which is wild because I think last year and the year before he had 2 touchdowns, not combined each year. So 10 touchdowns, I believe, this year. Maybe more. Yeah, he scored in all but 3 games, so maybe more than 10. So you love what you're getting from Sutton right now. He was my start of the week 3 weeks ago, and he hasn't missed a beat ever since. So again, scored in all but 3 games this year. Jerry Jeudy, on the other hand, Jerry Jeudy coming to the season he's got to be stacked up there in one of the biggest disappointments as far as receivers goes. He was supposed to be a wide receiver 1 this year. Everybody was on Jerry Jeudy train this year as a wide receiver 1 for many reasons. Of course, you had, that offense, new coach coming in there and then trying to unlock Russell Wilson. But Jeudy hasn't just been able to get it together. I don't know if Judy's hit 100 yards at all this season. Actually, that might be something I can pull up here. Let me pull up Jerry Judy's numbers. Because I have Sutton's here. So Sutton is sitting here right now with number 38 in targets, number 28 in the NFL in target share, number 34 in routes run, but he has 100% route participation. Catchable target rate 10th. With Russell Wilson throwing the ball, catchable target rate of 10 is very, very good. So when he is getting targets, he is getting solid targets. These aren't targets that are just, you have guys like, say, Terry McLaurin or Nico Collins of last year. One of the indicators of why I thought Nico Collins was going to break out this year was because last year his catchable target rate and target quality was ranked 90th or 99th in the NFL, right? So right now, Courtland Sutton's getting some of the best quality targets in the league, right? And he's 8th in red zone targets, 19th in deep targets, 37th in target depth, air yard share number 17th, number 32 in air yards. So, he is getting some elite, production in some of these opportunity categories. That is indicative of fantasy points. So that's why Courtland Sutton has turned out to consistently get more. That's why he's had more touchdowns. When you're number 8 in the league in red zone targets, you're probably going to get a lot of touchdowns, which he has. There's a reason these numbers indicate what they do. Productivity-wise, okay, expected fantasy points per game, 44. Actual fantasy points per game, number 23. So he's been exceeding his year expected year. And then total touchdowns, 18.9% rate, 10 touchdowns, second among receivers. So looking at the efficiency, this is what makes him really stand out in my opinion. So his production premium is number 6. His EPA, which is overall efficiency, is 20th. QB rating per target, number 8. Again, that is imperative. That's a number that people don't pay enough attention to is the quality of the target and the QB performance and how that indicates value of the receiver. And I don't think you would have expected that type of number with Russell Wilson at quarterback, but credit to them, credit to Sean Payton. Fantasy points per target, number 9. So what all that means is Sutton is just a mark of efficiency right now, right? Like everything that he's doing is because he is making the most out of every opportunity he gets. Okay. It's not like he's out here just volume. No, it's just when he gets an opportunity, he is very efficient. He gets fantasy points out of it and he makes it work and he scores touchdowns. Scoring touchdowns in fantasy football that's everything, right? So let me go over here and look at let me pull up Jerry Jeudy's here. And all of these numbers too can be found in the advanced analytics of player profile, by the way. So opportunity here. Route participation, number 21. Okay, slot snaps, number 19. Snap share, number 64. Now here is where things get interesting. Remember Sutton's catchable target rate was 8. Jerry Jeudy's is 54. Target quality rating, number 37. Air yard share, number 28. Deep targets, number 33. Red zone targets, 9. So that means Jerry Jeudy's had less red zone targets than Courtland Sutton has touchdowns. Okay. Let's go over to the efficiency numbers. Right now, expected fantasy points per game, 59th. Fantasy points per game, number 61, which means he is not performing up to the standard of what is expected from him. He's 1 touchdown this season. 1. True catch rate, number 11, which is actually pretty good. But let's go down here into more efficiency numbers. Target separation, number 12. Average cushion, number 32. Production premium, number 71. Now, EPA is the overall efficiency. Number Sutton was one of the tops in this category. Jerry Jeudy's efficiency is number 74. QB rating per target, number 65. So Jerry Jeudy's is a combination of 2 things, right? Jerry Jeudy's not getting the same amount of catchable targets. He's not getting the same quality of targets. But at the same time, he's not efficient with his targets. So that's the huge difference right now. Sutton getting good passes, good looks, and Jeudy's not. Jeudy's getting the separation, right? There's just some kind of disconnect in that offense that's causing Sutton to just be able to, I guess, be the cog that makes this offense roll when that was supposed to be Jeudy. So, yeah, it's tough to know what to do with these pass catchers right now. But, Sutton got to be a flexible option. Jerry Jeudy, I don't think you can put him in your lineup right now. He's been that bad this year. And never thought – coming into the season, I did not think that I would say that. Kind of crazy. All right, let's move that over into let's get into the Steelers. I want to show you a little bit of Deontay Johnson versus George Pickens as well. So since we're on these kind of advanced numbers here, so pull it up here. And if you have any questions, drop them in the chat for me, please, and I will answer them for you. All right, so Deontay Johnson, I looked at these earlier, and one, again, stood out. Not only is this catchable target rate, but if we go over here and we look at the route participation, right, 91.1%, which 42nd. So Deontay Johnson's supposed to be one of the top receivers. He's not even in the top 40 in route participation or route percentage. And then he's 73rd in routes run, 101st slot snaps, 49th in snap share. But even that being said, he's 21st in target rate, right? So he's getting the routes, he's on the field, and he's getting targeted. He's got a 24.1% target share. The problem is catchable target rate for him, number 73. Target quality rating, number 65. Okay, so his efficiency is not good. It's number 95 in EPA, which is lower than all three of the ones I've looked at today. Again, this is just a symptom of a bad offense. So these are the reasons why, when you're ranking guys, you get a guy like Sutton, and you can find something in the numbers that indicates where the issue is. All right. And I'm a big efficiency guy, right? So with Sutton, what do we see? We see a lot of efficiency, right? With these other two guys, we don't see a lot of efficiency. Which one is going to probably score the more points? Probably Sutton. I mean, there's exceptions to every rule. It's fantasy football. Things go awry all the time. We're always wrong on a lot of things. But just looking at what we have to go by, this is why you can't start a guy like Deontay Johnson. This is why you can't start a guy like Jerry Jeudy. All right. Ty Chandler or Warren non-PPR for the flex. Non-PPR. So I'm a little bit more bullish on Ty Chandler than I am Jaylen Warren. Reason being, I don't trust the Steelers' offense 100%. I do think Warren's flexible, but I think Ty Chandler, to me, I'd have Ty Chandler ranked just a little bit ahead of him, especially if I think Ty Chandler's probably going to get the majority of the work. But Jaylen Warren's still flexible. I still think Najee Harris is a better one in that backfield, but I think Ty Chandler is definitely going to get the nod in the Vikings. But it's two bad offenses right now. The Vikings sometimes good, but Nick Mullins at quarterback, we'll see. But I do think there are going to be a lot of reliance on Ty Chandler in this game. And Warren, again, you got him for the splash plays, but a lot of what Warren does too is pass catching. But when you have to rely, I do think Ty Chandler is going to get the majority of the volume. I think Jaylen Warren is still going to be too reliant on the big play. So I think the higher floor is going to be Ty Chandler. And I think the ceiling's just as high for either one of them. So, yeah, I'll go Ty Chandler there. So, thanks for the question, man. Appreciate it. Okay, now let's get into some of the player props here. So, first things first, I got up Minnesota and Cincinnati props. So, just so y'all know why we use prop bets sometimes. So, I use prop bets sometimes to just see kind of what the general consensus of what Vegas thinks is going to happen with these players in these games, right? For instance, Joe Mixon, right? Prop is 3.5 receptions. Okay, so you can expect Joe Mixon to get in the range of 3 or 4, receptions according to that. Jamar Chase, prop bet is 5.5 receptions. TJ Hawkinson 5.5 receptions. So typically, when Vegas kind of lays these prop bets too, you can kind of see what they think because Vegas knows a lot. You can kind of see what they think is going to happen with these guys. Use that as a gauge to see what kind of volume these guys might get. T. Higgins, prop 3.5 receptions. Jordan Addison, 3.5. So let's go and look at the Pittsburgh props. Let's go ahead and look at let's go see if we got Jaylen Warren on here for any props. So we've got Najee Harris, 1.5 receptions. Jaylen Warren, 2.5 receptions. So, so it looks like, of course, Jaylen Warren's going to probably get the majority of the pass catching. Pat Freiermuth, 2.5 receptions. Deontay Johnson, 3.5 receptions. So, Jaylen Warren's even right below Deontay Johnson in terms of expected production from pass catching. It says, I read some earlier where the 10th most plays on offense. The Steelers expect to run the 10th most plays on offense this week. But, that doesn't really match with what we've seen from them this year. I'm not sure if they're expecting that to be because this game gets a little bit higher scoring, which I doubt. But, it's played in a dome. There's not going to be none of the, the elements or anything like that throwing off the passing game or anything like that we have to worry about. So that's also something to factor in around this time because you do have to worry about weather a lot of times. Look at, Texans Jets last week. It just started raining, cold. Pittman, 6.5 receptions prop. Vegas thinks he's automatic wide receiver 1. And then let's move over into Denver, Detroit. Javonte Williams, 2.5 prop on receptions. Amon-Ra St. Brown, 6.5. I didn't touch on Amon-Ra St. Brown because, do we have to? Amon-Ra St. Brown, wide receiver 1. All day, every day, top 5 locked and loaded. Jahmyr Gibbs at 3.5 for receptions paid. Adam Troutman, if you have Adam Troutman running at tight end, I'm sorry, but he's not somebody you want to rely on right now. He's a 1.5 reception for the prop. And the Broncos have like the 7th least passing, pass focus offense in the league. They throw it like a 56% rate. So Jerry Jeudy, 3.5 is his prop. Josh Reynolds, that's somebody to talk about. So Josh Reynolds, I've had some questions on Josh Reynolds after the last couple of weeks where he has had, 2 big touchdowns, I think, in two of the last 3 games. Josh Reynolds is still a guy that you put him on your bench. You're not starting a Josh Reynolds yet. You're probably not starting him ever. Like what Josh Reynolds has done is what he's done his entire career in Detroit. He has moments like this where he'll have a big play. You got like guys like Jamo. Jamo does the same. Jamo, was supposed to be the big deep play guy. Of course, got hurt his rookie season, and then we know what happened first half of this season. So Jamo and Josh Reynolds, I kind of hold in the same light. I'd probably put Jamo like slightly ahead of Josh Reynolds unless Josh Reynolds continues to get this, big play ability and continues to take this role in this offense. Khalif Raymond, 1.5 props for receptions. Brock Wright, 0.5 reception. Monty, 1.5. And then Marvin Mims, 1.5. So, overall, these games are just a matter of start your studs. Who do I think? Well, we got another question here. Who do I think is going to win? Pittsburgh, Indy. I'm going to go out on a limb, and I think Pittsburgh wins an ugly game. Pittsburgh wins an ugly game. All right, so we got Warren, Ridley, and Lockett. I talked a little bit about Ridley on our last night's stream in detail. Ridley, yeah, man, it's all bad looking at the underlying numbers. But in this instance, putting him against Warren and Lockett, I think I have to go Warren and Ridley. It's out of Warren and Ridley for me. But I think I'm going to go. I think I'm going to go Ridley. At PPR, yeah, give me Ridley. I still like Ridley. Jaylen Warren is still in a committee backfield, so that limits his upside. Ridley, we've seen it at least in flashes the last couple of weeks. And I think the Jacksonville offense is one of those that's like, it's going to have its moments, but I think it's going to have its days where it just goes to Calvin Ridley like we've seen a couple weeks ago. The problem is with the focus being on him and not having to worry about Christian Kirk. What does that look like? I know we saw it last week. It didn't look good, but I'm still just holding on to a little bit of Calvin Ridley hope. But I think this week, Calvin Ridley will be in wide receiver 3-2 territory. I think Jaylen Warren's relegated to flex territory with a lower floor. And Lockett is just, Lockett's one of those, you got to know what you get from Lockett at this point. But again, just not a top pass catching option there. But give me Calvin Ridley. Thanks for the question, Jordan. Appreciate it. Start 2, Chandler, Warren, Gibson, and Jones. Okay, so out of Chandler and Warren, I'm going to go Ty Chandler. Gibson and Jones. I'm assuming Aaron Jones. I would go Chandler and Jones. Personally, those are I like Chandler and Jones on that. Appreciate your question. And then after that, I would probably go Chandler, Jones, and then Warren and Gibson for those. So, all right, appreciate that question, JJ. We got about 12 minutes to the games. Everybody who stopped in, if you don't mind leaving a like or subscribing to the channel, it really helps us out. We hate to ask for it, but they make us do that. Okay. We talked about it a little bit yesterday, but I'm going to pull up here. I'm going to go back into these injuries and see if I can find the updates on them as it sits. So, 1 second. Apologies, y'all. I got this place I can go where it gives a little bit of a updated immediately set status here. Okay, so all right, so a couple things. We got Devon A-Chain, he was questionable. Aaron Jones is questionable, but it seems like Aaron Jones might be a little bit more likely to play than A.J. Dillon. So A.J. Dillon was a thumb injury. If for those who don't know, broke a thumb, but it's a quick turnaround. And as we know, Aaron Jones has kind of been dealing with this all season. So, even with Aaron Jones in there, I have him as top 18 if A.J. Dillon's out. So I like, Aaron Jones pulled up a number yesterday. He's still top 10 in target percentage when he's on the field in terms of, just overall running backs. So he is somebody that you want to have in your lineup. So when he's healthy, the problem this year is he hasn't been healthy. But with A.J. Dillon out, I think Aaron Jones is going to get a lot of love. Because, these running backs, Aaron Jones is one of the guys coming into the season. He was a locked and loaded automatic starter. You're thinking RB1 potential. And it's just like none of these guys in this Packers offense have been startable consistently. So, but I think Aaron Jones is RB1 upside if A.J. Dillon's out for sure. Outside of that, though, not a ton of updates. We had, Olave probably he didn't practice, but he's questionable. Might play. Jamal Williams, Taysom. Jamal Williams questionable. Taysom Hill, Rashid Shaheed are good to go. Darren Waller's questionable for the Giants. Cook's questionable for the Cowboys. Pacheco's out. Stroud is out with his concussion. And then we got Devontae Parker, Juju. They're questionable. Ramondre Stevenson's out. Okay, Nico Collins out. Devontae Parker and Juju are questionable. Marquise Brown and Michael Wilson. Marquise Brown has been limited, which means he probably will get the nod. Michael Wilson is questionable. And then removed from the injury report, Dalton Kincaid, Kareem Hunt, Jerome Ford, and Breece Hall. So that is the injuries as I know them currently. We'll see how those transpire over the next couple of days. But we got about 8 minutes to the game time. So if you have any more questions, just drop them in here. If not, I have covered the 3 games today. And again, we covered the weekend recap last night on our Friday episode of CheesyCorn Sports Friday Night Lights. And then also, I just covered the 3 games today. Tomorrow, we'll be back here in the morning. We're going to be covering every single game for the Sunday slate of games. We'll recap some of these Saturday games, and we'll get you locked and loaded for your main slate of games for tomorrow. So if y'all want to join us here tomorrow, my co-host will be back in the studio And and actually, no, it would be me solo tomorrow. I forgot my co-host got to work tomorrow, so it'll be me solo. So I'll be riding you on to the Sunday games, just like today, and answer all your start-sit questions. I will get you the latest on the injury report, and our producer in the back, Corey, will also keep those updated as we go. So I want to thank everybody here for tuning in. Again, if y'all get any more questions in before I close out, I will answer them. But that being said, we'll see y'all here tomorrow. Hopefully you win your weeks today, or if you can win your week today, then good shit. Hopefully you start to win your week today. Hopefully you didn't play against Devontae Adams, because it's going to be a bad day for you. Lucky. All right, guys. Well, again, thank you here for joining us at CheesyCorn. Like, or subscribe to the channel. We'll be here, every Sunday, getting you ready for the games. We're every Friday, and then we continue seasoning the content into the off season. So, with that being said, without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and get off here, and we'll get on with the rest of our Saturdays. Enjoy the games, and best of luck in your initial few players in your playoffs, and we will see you tomorrow.